This is Japan, a narrow chain of islands on the edge of the Pacific Ocean, built by pressure, shaken by fault lines, and held together by habit. Japan sits where two giant plates of the Earth collide. On one side, deep ocean trenches fall into darkness. On the other, mountains rise fast from the sea. The country runs north to south for thousands of kilometers. Snow-buried coasts at the top and subtropical islands at the bottom. Most of its land is steep. Only a thin strip near the water is flat enough to share. That narrow space is where almost everyone lives. Japan is young in geological time. It is still being built and broken. As one plate dives beneath another, rock melts into magma. That magma rises, cools, and becomes new land. Volcanoes mark the line where this happens. Some are quiet, some still burn. Earthquakes are part of the deal. The ground here moves almost every day. Most shifts are small, forgotten by morning, but sometimes the force builds for years. Then, in seconds, it is released. These shocks lift coastlines. They crack roads open. They crack open hillsides and reshape harbors. Japan's outline on the map is not fixed. It is a freeze frame of something still in motion. Water rules these islands. It arrives as rain, snow, fog, and sea spray. Warm currents from the south meet cold currents from the north. They feed rich fishing grounds offshore. They also feed storms. In summer, typhoons twist out of the ocean and slam into the coast. Wind strips trees. Waves climb sea walls and flood streets. Inland, rivers run fast and short. They drop from mountains to sea in a single day. When heavy rain hits, they rise quickly and break their banks. But the same water that destroys also feeds. It fills rice fields, powers dams, and carves the flat land where towns can grow. Every year, people here rebuild in the same places, because that is where the water makes life possible. Most of Japan is mountains. Slopes climb straight up from the edge of the plains. Forests cover much of this high ground. Dark cedar stands, bright maple in autumn. Bamboo groves that bend but rarely break. The seasons are sharp and clear. Winters bring heavy snow to the north and the interior. Springs burst with blossoms that last only a few days. Summers are hot, thick with cicadas and humidity. Autumn cools the air and sets the hills on fire with color. For anyone who lives here, the year is not just dates. It is the sound of insects, the weight of the air, and the color of the trees. On these narrow strips of flat land, people have learned to use every meter. Rice fields climb the hills in terraces. Houses pressed tight against sea walls and riverbanks. For centuries, villages grew where the land was just gentle enough. A break in the mountains, a bend in a river, a harbor with shelter from the waves. The sea gives fish, but it also sends tsunamis. The soil grows rice, but floods wash fields away. The mountains hold forests, but they also send down landslides. Life here is a balance with risk that never fully disappears. So people build strong, drill often, and watch the sea and sky closely. From above, the towns look fragile. Up close, you see how much work it takes to keep them standing. From a distance, Japan looks like a thin line of land in a wide ocean. Up close, every valley and bay has its own story. This country is not just islands, it is pressure made visible, plates pushing, volcanoes breathing, storms rising and fading. People here live with the knowledge that the ground can move, the sea can rush inland, and the sky can turn violent in a single night. But they also live with mountains that hold snow, forests that cool the air, and seas that still fill their nets. In the end, Japan is a record of what happens when land, water, and time refuse to stay still, and of how far people will go to make a home on the edge of all three.